There is a place in Canada that does not want you there. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a place of breathtaking beauty that stretches across 30,000 square kilometers of jagged peaks and vertical canyons. But look at a map of this wilderness, and you will see names that feel like a warning. Deadman Valley, the Funeral Range, and the only place in the world officially named the Headless Range. For centuries, the indigenous Dene people refused to enter it, calling it bad medicine and claiming it was inhabited by giants. In the early 90s, prospectors went in looking for gold and came out without their heads. And today, in 2026, the mystery has only deepened, as the Canadian government has legally restricted access to its deepest, most disturbing cave systems. They say 44 people have vanished or died here under circumstances that defy logic. Some say it's a serial killer, but the truth might be buried much deeper than that, inside the earth itself. Welcome to the Nahanni. Welcome to the Valley of Headless Men. To understand the horror, you have to understand the isolation. The Nahanni National Park Reserve is huge, and yet, it's almost entirely empty. There are no roads, no cell towers, no rescue stations. The only way in is by float plane or a treacherous, week-long journey upriver. The river itself is a gauntlet, snaking through 4 massive canyons with walls over 1,000 meters high. By the time you reach the second canyon, the world outside ceases to exist. You are trapped in a stone pipe of your own making. It was here, in a place the maps literally call Deadman Valley, and like all great tragedies, it started with the lure of gold.
Nahanni, where few men go, far off river with shores of death, the valley where the skeletons had no skulls. The legend tells of a lost gold mine hidden in this strange wilderness. The men who died were looking for it.
(1904), the McLeod brothers, Willie and Frank. They were the sons of a Hudson's Bay factor, born and raised in the bush. They were not amateurs, they were experts. On their first trip into the valley, they struck it rich. They returned with a small fortune in gold, but they refused to reveal the location of their find. Greed, however, is a powerful motivator. In 1905, they went back for the mother lode. This time they took a Scottish engineer named Robert Weir with them. 1 year passed, then 2. For 3 years the valley held its breath. Finally, in 1908, a search party led by their other brother, Charlie, found their camp at the mouth of the Flat River. The scene was hauntingly normal. The sleds were there, the supplies were untouched, the gold they had panned was still sitting in the pans. But the bodies, Willie and Frank, were found in their sleeping bags. One brother's arm was outstretched, as if reaching for a rifle he never managed to grab. But the detail that's made headlines across the British Empire. Both heads were gone. They were not torn off by bears or gnawed by wolves. The police reports use a chilling word, severed, cleanly. And the third man, Robert Weir, he had vanished entirely, as if he had walked into the trees and ceased to exist. The authorities claimed starvation. They suggested one brother might have killed the other. But you don't starve to death while leaving thousands of dollars of gold sitting in a pan. And you certainly don't decapitate your own brother after you already died. The MacLeods were only the beginning. In 1917, a Swiss prospector named Martin Jurgensen built a cabin near the Flat River. He sent letters home saying he would finally find the source of the gold. When searchers eventually find his site, the cabin had been burned to the ground. In the ashes, they found his skeleton, headless. In 1945, an unnamed miner from Ontario was found in his sleeping bag, headless. Then there was Ernest Savard, found dead in 1940s, headless. Yukon Fisher, Phil Powers. By the 1950s, the count of strange deaths and disappearances had risen to 44. While skeptics claim the headless nickname is just folklore meant to scare away rival miners, the police reports tell a different story. Something in that valley has a collection, and it only takes the heads. But decapitation is not the only way to die in the Nahanni. Sometimes the valley does not just kill you, it stops you in time. Take the case of John O'Brien in 1922. Searchers found O'Brien on a mountain ledge near the Twisted Mountain in the dead of winter. He was not in a sleeping bag, he was not running, he was sitting next to a campfire that had long since burned out. He was holding a matchbook, his hand poised, frozen in the act of striking a match. He was flesh frozen. Psychologically, hypothermia usually makes people drowsy. They often strip off their clothes in a phenomenon called paradoxical undressing. It does not turn you into a statue in the blink of an eye. What kind of cold or what kind of fear freezes a man amid movement? Here is where the story shifts from true crime to unexplained. Because the Nahanni is a land of contradictions. Deep within these frozen mountains there are pockets of intense heat. These are the tropical valleys, driven by geothermal hot springs. These areas never freeze. While it's negative 40 degrees on the ridges, the valley floor is filled with lush ferns, cherry trees, and a thick permanent mist. This environmental anomaly has led to theories that the Nahanni is a refuge for the things that should be extinct. The Dean legends speak of the Wahila, a massive white wolf-like creature with a head twice the size of a modern wolf. It does not hunt in packs, it hunts alone. Cryptozoologists believe this could be a relict population of Amphibian, the prehistoric bear dog. If a creature from the Ice Age were to survive anywhere, it would be here, protected by 3,000-foot walls and fed by the warmth of the earth. Then there are Nakanni, the wild men. The Dean claimed these hairy giants would come down from mountains to raid their camps. In the 1960s, a geologist named Mackenzie actually found footprints in the valley. They were human-shaped, but they were 16 inches long. But perhaps the strangest tale is that of the Naha tribe. They were a fierce group of warriors who lived in the high canyons. They were sworn enemies of the lowland Dian. One night, the Dian went to attack the Naha village. When they arrived, they found the fire still burning. The food was still in the pots, but the people, every man, woman, and child were gone. No tracks, no bodies, just silence. The scariest thing in the Nahan is not what walks on the surface, it's what is buried underneath. The limestone mountains are riddled with unexplored cave systems. One of them, discovered in the 1970s, is called Grotte Valerie. Inside, a chamber named the Gallery of Dead Ship. Explorers found something that looks like a ritualistic tomb. The skeletons of over 100 doll sheep are piled there. Carbon dating suggests they died in the waves over 2,500 years. Some say they were chased, others say they were trapped by gas. But as of 2024 and 2026, you are no longer allowed to see it for yourself. Parks Canada has legally gated the entrance. It's a Zone 1 special preservation area. The official reason is preservation, but looking at the history of this place, one has to wonder, are they keeping us out or are they keeping something in? And then there are the lights. Pilots flying over the Nahanni have long reported silent glowing orbs, similar to the Hessdalen lights in Norway. These orbs hover over the Headless Range, moving with an intelligence that suggests they are not just atmospheric gas. But the biggest change to the Nahanni is happening right now. A company is finalizing an all-season road into the heart of the valley. They are digging zinc, lead, and silver. For the first time in history, the isolation of the Nahanni is punctured by industrial noise. Local elders have warned that disturbing the earth here comes with a price. They call it bad medicine for a reason. As the road nears the completion in 2026, reports from workers of train sightings and equipment failure are already beginning to surface. The Nahanni Valley is beautiful, it's majestic and it's hungry. Whether it's a flesh-freezing cold, the isolation, or something older and more malevolent, the result is the same. When you enter the Nahanni, you are no longer at the top of the food chain. If you decide to visit in 2026, enjoy the view. Stay on the marked trails, and for God's sake, keep your head down. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe. Good night.